It was always suspect to me when it came down the wire. A news reported that Tupac was shot in Vegas, and then it was reported that Suge was hit by bullet fragments in the head. I was like, wow, how convenient. A car pulls up on you guys and you only get okay, I'll be back. Hey folks, welcome. Let's discuss how close Pac was to quitting gangster rap, and Suge said that he knows who the real target was on that fateful night in Vegas. Let's get into it. In the months before his death, the rapper was deciding what type of career he wanted. On June 23rd, 96, 4 LAP officers went to the headquarters of Death Row Records. They basically was speaking on the behalf of the community, the neighborhood. They had gotten complaints from the neighbors about the ruckus at Death Row Records. Death Row Records was located in Tarzana. It's considered suburban California. There have been many complaints about armed gang members coming and going, and increasing reports of assaults, auto thefts, and robberies. This might have been a particularly observant neighborhood watch, or it could have been a case of racial profiling. But it was true that Death Row had become a hangout for gangsters and not just Bloods that label head Suge Knight rode with. There'll be Crips on one side of the couches and Bloods on the other side because Snoop was affiliated at that point. Tupac publicly embraced that gangster ethos when he signed with Death Row. He got the letters MOB tattooed on his right tricep. He said it meant money, organization, and business. But some people took it to refer to MOB Piru, a faction of Bloods from Compton. Others said it stood for member of the Bloods. Yeah, that money, organization, and business it sounded like, come on, man, you couldn't have came up with something better than that if you don't want to tell them the real meaning. Let's continue. Tupac had become the biggest star in hip hop, but by 96, Death Row was starting to fall apart. Snoop went on trial for murder in a case stemming from an altercation near his house 3 years earlier. After he was acquitted that February, he started to distance himself from the gangster life. A month later, Dr. Dre announced he was leaving Death Row. He had grown weary of the violence surrounding Suge, and he wasn't eager to work with some of the label's newer artists, including Tupac. Tupac came to feel the same about Dre. He was bothered that Dre never showed up at Snoop's trial, and he thought Dre didn't do enough to support Death Row in his beef with Bad Boy Records. Tupac was the one that pointed things out to us, said Reggie Wright. Now I want you guys to keep that name in mind. Reggie Wright. Death Row's head of, so he was Death Row head of security. He was the one that was like, this is a disloyal mother effer. I don't want to be around him. I ain't feeling him. This is what Reggie Wright said Pac would say. It seemed like Pac and Death Row were going to ride together. Everyone else be damned. That's how it looked from the outside at least. But even as Tupac was calling out Dre for disloyalty, he was making his own moves away from Death Row. In 96, Pac formed his own production company called Euthanasia. He was making plans to start a label under his new stage name, Machiavelli. He also spent much of that spring and summer filming 2 movies, Gridlock and Gang Related. He told people in the film business that he wanted to start working on different kinds of projects. He wanted to do a Western starring young black actors and a movie about the uprising led by enslaved preacher Nat Turner. Those would have been some bomb movies. Let's continue. I think he knew death row was going to be a roadblock for him. The sure sign that Tupac was considering a different direction came on August the 26th, 1996. That's when he fired death row lawyer David Kenner, a former defense attorney who made his name representing drug traffickers. He came to power at death row by attaching himself to Suge Knight. Kenner got Suge and death row's artists out of a bunch of legal jams, and he came to play a big role in the legal's day-to-day operation. It was Kenner who engineered Tupac's release from prison. But first, Tupac had signed a contract with death row, an agreement that also made Kenner his legal representative. Once he was on the outside, Tupac grew frustrated with that arrangement. The final straw when Kenner denied Tupac access to some music he had been working on in the studio. That's when Tupac fired him, a move that some friends and outside observers considered rash. To cut ties with Kenner was a very big deal. George Price, death row's publicist, says he came to believe that Tupac's loyalty only went so far. Tupac wanted to start his own company, and that's why he was doing what he was doing with death row, to make that money that he needed, Price said. Tupac was using death row as a means to an end. It often seemed like Tupac couldn't think more than 1 second ahead, but he also appeared to understand on some level that he couldn't keep acting this way forever. He had to make a decision about what kind of career he wanted to have and what kind of life he wanted to live. In the summer of '96, he was increasingly essential to the survival of Death Row Records and increasingly ready to strike out on his own. He was on the verge of making a choice. And then he went to Las Vegas. What happened in Tupac's final hours? How close was he to quitting the gangster rap life? And how would one last reckless act come to define his legacy? Now, this article makes you have a lot of questions. That's the end of the article. It makes you have a lot of questions, right? Tupac made Death Row Records, and he would have broke Death Row Records, just like I'm sure Biggie made Bad Boy Records, and he would have broke Bad Boy Records. Can you imagine if they did veer off and started their own record label at that time? They would have sent both of those record labels underground. It would have been like Death Row who? Bad Boys who? You can imagine how many rappers would have wanted to jump ship and join them. How many new rappers would have wanted to sign with Tupac or Biggie? You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, it's a lot that makes you, wonder, like, really. Let's continue. Now, this is about Suge Knight and him saying he knew, who was supposed to get shot that night. When the West Coast prize rap possession, Tupac was unalived in September '96, riding passengers side with the leader of Death Row Records, Suge Knight. The world bore witness to one of hip-hop's most painful losses to date. But after 21 years of arguable statements, conspiracy, documentaries, debates, and finger-pointing, Knight has now stepped forth to discuss the two individuals responsible for the fateful evening, September the 7th, '96. This article was written April 2017. Several sources have reported that in an official signed affidavit, that is, Culpepper Knight's attorney wrote that the label CEO has known for many years that Reggie Wright Jr., remember I said hold that name in your mind, or keep that name in your mind, and his ex-wife Sharithia were behind the murder of Tupac and attempted murder of Knight. Wright Jr., the then head of security of Death Row, had previously been linked to Pac's death by former LAPD detective Russell Poole, along with Knight's ex-wife. But now it's being said that Keefe D did it, right? However, Knight was the intended target of the shooting, as Poole believes the two conspired to take him out to gain control of Death Row Records. Knight seconds these claims as the salient points of the new Tupac assassination. Battle for Compton documentary was what reportedly convicted him to disclose such classified information. Knight has been incarcerated since 2015 on murder and attempted murder charges for a separate incident. Has also long been suspected and accused of Pac's death due to inconsistent testimonies, one of which he suggested Pac faked his own death. The affidavit also claims that he has knowledge of those involved with the murder of Tupac's most spotlighted East Coast rival, Big, as well. If there's truth to Knight's claim, hopefully his latest reveal will move everyone closer to solving the cold case of the legendary rap prophet's death once and for all. Now, like I said, I know they're saying Keefe D did it. But think about it. Keefe D is a West Coast gangster. So you think he really gonna come out and name somebody from West Coast? That's what you would call a snitch. If he pointed out people who really might have been involved in this, he would be labeled a snitch. So it ain't nothing for him to say Diddy did it, because nobody likes Diddy. Yeah, I know there are reports that came down the wire. Diddy did this, Diddy. You know what I'm saying? It's just something else to think about. Next, I want to talk about the ex-LAPD detective who says he knows who took out Tupac and Biggie. This was written in 2011. Los Angeles LAPD cop turned author Greg Kading is rekindling the debate about the two most famous and unsolved murders in hip-hop history, Tupac and Christopher Wallace, aka Notorious Big. It just didn't sit right to have two cases that were right on the verge, especially these two cases that were right on the verge of being solved, Kading said. After 22 years with the LAPD, the retired detective is revealing how close he says they came to significant leads before the task force was shut down. His theory outlined in the new book, Murder Rap, goes back to the original theory of an East Coast-West Coast rivalry. Kading says he copied audio tapes and statements that contain a confession by a gang member from LA Southside Crips. He told us that he had made an agreement with Puffy Combs to kill Suge Knight and Tupac for the sum of $1 million. Kading also says they got a female friend of Suge Knight's to confess in the LA slang of Biggie Smalls. She confessed to us that she was involved in the communications with Knight to carry out the murder, and she facilitated the payments to the hitman, he said. But an original investigator told us by phone Friday he doesn't buy a bit of this theory, saying that a lot of people confess to a lot of things. Russ Poole maintains Knight masterminded both, allegedly with the help of LAPD officers moonlighting as security guards. I'm absolutely confident that the LAPD had nothing to do with this, Kading said. Firm in his assertions, but in an email to LA Weekly, Sean Combs, aka P. Diddy, told them this story is pure fiction and completely ridiculous. When a task force was initially shut down, LAPD captains initially said they exhausted their leads, but recently an LAPD spokesperson said the investigation was open and ongoing with no further information. Yeah, it's mighty convenient that all these years, well, they supposedly got Keefe D. They came after Keefe D after he went to with that dude DJ Vlad. I'm like, why the hell do black folks still go to Vlad running their mouth? Is it something in the water? Does Vlad give you guys something to drink and y'all just run y'all mouth? And then these are street dudes. I thought you wasn't supposed to run your mouth like that. Do y'all get on Vlad and feel starstruck like you just this big time person, and you know everybody gonna look at your video and you just can't help but to run your mouth? It's just weird. It's weird to me. I thought real straight street dudes don't run their mouths. Who does that? Loose lips sink ships. I think it's more to it. Be real with you. I think it's very convenient that this guy is, I think it's very convenient. What is that saying in Hollywood? Believe nothing of what you hear and half of what you see. Or I might be flipping it. Nothing of what you see and half of what you hear. A lot of people stood to lose a lot of money if Tupac went on his own and if Biggie went on his own, and people didn't like it. That's what I think. Think about how many artists in the past plan to branch out on their own and start their own label and start their own distribution companies and were taken out. Just do a little research. They always making black people the fall guys. All Diddy is a high paid overseer. That's all Diddy is. They don't have no respect for him. He on a plantation. He one of those black dudes, those black men that was on a plantation that treated black folks worse than the white overseers. That's how Diddy is. I mean, he was willing to do anything. They probably didn't even have to give him too much, because Diddy, from all the reports that I'm hearing, my sister came in and told me some other things that came down the wire about Diddy, and I think homeboy from Jodeci, I can't remember. It just pissed me. I just got pissed off. I was like, this Negro, excuse my French, I said, this nigga was a straight serial killer. I mean, he was a serial essayer. I mean, whatever he wanted to do, he did it. No boundaries. Now think about this dude acted so reckless. No boundaries. I don't even think he knows what no mean. I don't think he ever told himself no. So think about all the people that was behind him. Now imagine them being worse than him. Okay, I'm about to shut this down. I'm going to come out with some more videos to discuss the police officers that they allege was involved in the assassination of Big, the whole whack ratchet police department that they had to shut down because it was just that vile. Rampart Division. Yeah, I'm doing a lot of research, and it's just some things just not adding up to me. Like I said, I know they got Keefy D for this, but something not adding up. Okay, I'm out. Thank you. See you in the next video.